I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I am so happy that you and Angie shared single car crashes with me. And I'm so excited to talk to you about this, especially with all the Chicago film people who were involved. But I thought we could first talk about what brought you to this project.
Sure. It's a personal project for me because it's inspired by losing a lot of loved ones too soon
Mhm.
when I was coming of age in high school and early college in the suburbs of Illinois. What I mean by that is that because I lived in a rural part of the state, a lot of people
Mhm.
drove very far on dark roads, dark, narrow roads to school, and there
Right.
was just an inordinate amount of car accidents. So I knew a lot
Yeah.
of people that suddenly lost their sibling on a Tuesday afternoon, or
Mhm.
lost their best friend in the car that they were driving, or two siblings, but one friend survived. So there were a lot of those situations that we were grappling with.
Mhm.
And the story is not so steeped in that level of tragedy because there's distance there.
Right.
It's a 10 years later type of tale that
Mhm.
focuses
Mhm.
more on the lasting friendships that were forged through these
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so interesting. And now that you said that, I'm thinking back. I grew up in St. Charles, which is kind of
Sure.
like cornfields, And yeah, I had one of my good friends in middle school died in a car accident because her sister was turning into the movie theater and got hit when she was turning left. And it was really tragic to deal with that at such a young age. And so yeah, I feel like it's really interesting the way you took this occurrence or tragedy and brought it 10 years later. I think it's so fascinating. And then can you talk about how you met Angie with this project? And like, I know you guys did a lot of script development. Can you talk about that process a little bit?
Course. Angie Gaffney and I went to college together at DePaul University a while ago.
Mhm.
And while Angie was here building the first part of her career in Chicago and leading nonprofits and had a lot more physical production experience than I do, I was
Mhm.
largely in Los Angeles working in casting. When I
Yeah.
moved back to Chicago to marry my high school sweetheart, and we had a baby in 2020, so now she's almost 4,
Oh.
getting ready for that next phase of life and of career, because at the time I was able to fly back and forth to LA a lot, and
Mhm.
things had become so
Mhm.
digital that it was easier and easier to live anywhere you want, and now is more than ever, right? So when I
Right.
moving back, reconnected with Angie. We'd been in touch throughout the years and worked on things here and there together, but we really reforged our friendship a decade later from college, and she came onto this project early. I had actually
Mhm.
had her read a draft of it several years ago, and she'd given
Okay.
me really incredible transformative development notes, probably in 2018 or 2017.
Yeah.
And it was then years later, because I'd gotten busy with other work, that I picked it back up again and I went back to Angie's notes. So implemented
Mhm.
those, sent her the script again and said, look at it again. I think it's a
Yeah.
long way. I think it's ready to go. And as soon as she came on, she breathed life into the train, had it leave the station. And 9 months later, we were making this movie baby together.
Yeah, it's so like yeah, it touches on a lot of things, and I want to talk about your cast because it was funny. I watched the film with my husband, Matt Fagerholm. He writes
Yeah.
for Roger Ebert, and he was like, "Hey, isn't that the bully kid from Sixth Sense?" Because yeah, like yeah, I guess he was a child star, and I forgot about him. But yeah, like he's interesting. Like he's not. I always appreciate it when the main character is not likable because like it's fascinating. But the women you had around him as well, like I read the notes and you call these women the chorus for this guy's life, and I think that's just so interesting. So can you talk about how you found like your main cast? Yeah.
Sure. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for pulling that out because that's an important element of it to us is the female representation.
Yes.
This is a story that follows a white cis het man at
Yeah.
30, and we've
Yeah.
seen a lot of movies like that. We've also seen a lot of movies in the genre by white male directors where the main character who's a mess and is a little hardened and cigarette smoking and drinking and unlikable and devil may care is a woman. And so what I
Yeah.
love about this piece is that it's a reversal on that, where we have a female-led team with Angie and I, and
Yeah.
it's a female perspective on that male character. So thank you so much for highlighting that.
Yeah.
Trevor and I are very close collaborators, and he came onto the project informally, probably about 8 years before we shot it. So
Oh,
it was
okay.
always going to be Trevor. And
Yeah.
then also Paulina, who plays Jane, is his partner in
Mm.
real life. We had to actually have
Oh.
a different part. We had her in a different part playing the waitress initially, and
Oh.
things changed with which actors we were flying in from LA. And so
Yeah.
we ended up saying, actually, you know what? It would be interesting to have these real life partners playing this pair that has a lot of history together,
Yeah.
but not together, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
that's how Paulina came to be Jane.
Okay.
Cruz Gonzalez Cadell, celebrated theater actor here in Chicago, will tell you that I slid into her DMs, which is the only time I've slid
That's the
into a stranger's
best way
DM.
to do it.
I think
Yeah.
that's what the kids are saying. But
Yeah.
I messaged her to say, hey, I actually need somebody to do me a favor and do this table read. It was our third developmental table read. We were trying to close our financiers on the rest of the money. We put together
Yeah.
this big read through at Cinespace, and I needed someone to play that part. That Ashley part's a little tricky. And so I
Mhm.
reached out to her and she said, oh, I'm so sorry. It's my 7-year anniversary. I'm still gonna do it. So she came and did the table read and we hired her off of that, which is great.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah. And lastly, Lindsay Morgan, who plays Kendall,
Yeah. She's
yeah,
great.
she's great. And I was the casting associate on the TV show, The 100, only
Uh-huh.
in season 1, which is when we first met Lindsay Morgan in my casting office at the time. And
Right.
I've known her for over 10, 12 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she was great. And I just, yeah, it was so fascinating to me because I was like, these women just keep taking care of this guy. And I know they all care about him, but I'm like, I just, it is fascinating to have a reversal, and I appreciate that because I think it was frustrating for me because I was like, these women just need to move on, but then this guy's in the way. But then, I appreciate it. I really actually it's when I think about it now, based on what you just said about the reversal, that adds like a whole other layer to me. So I think it's fascinating. Yeah, and then I love that you worked with all these Chicago people, like I saw Anna Christian and Katie Waters, who, I know them from the editing Noise Floor, and then your cinematographer, Christopher Rehano, like he's great. Like, can you talk about, your crew, and also talk about maybe why you think the Chicago filmmaking scene is special? Yeah.
The Chicago filmmaking scene is so special because of
Yeah.
many cast and crew,
Mm-hmm.
none more so than the 3 people that you just mentioned. I
Yes.
will forget others, but I also want to highlight Melissa Chapman, an incredible music supervisor and female
Mm-hmm.
business owner here in
Yeah.
Chicago, who brought extraordinary options to the source music. Also, Steph Mitchell, Hallie Sharp, thinking of our other department heads who were the art director and costume designer, respectively. And of course, Chris Rahano, right?
Yeah.
And so many people in their departments that were so extraordinary and we were very fortunate to have. And that camaraderie was critical to the telling of this story, right?
Right.
Because when you're
Mm-hmm.
putting together a crew, you don't always have this luxury, but if it works out where the story of the project
Mm-hmm.
aids and abets the story on screen, either
Yeah.
mood wise,
Yeah.
whatever it is, representation, all of the above, right? So in this particular case, we had a crew of people who had known and loved and worked together for years. Anna
Mhm.
Christian and Ryan Stemple, my colorist, those two have championed this project as if it was their own, as if they were
That's
the director and the
great.
producer of it. They are our post supervisors. They have gone above and beyond at every turn. They are my absolute heroes, as well as the others aforementioned and more. But Ryan and Anna really, you know,
Mhm.
they are together. They're married in real life, right? So when
Yeah, right,
that kind of
right.
camaraderie, Chris Rahano does a lot of work with both of them as well, right? So those synergies really allowed everybody to sink in and tell this story about a group of characters who have known each other for years,
Mhm.
or about each
Mhm.
other for years. Women
That's so
who do a lot of
great.
emotional labor for this man, just like a lot of the crew members do a lot of extra labor for this one person that they always are supporting, you know, whatever it looks like.
Right, right, yeah.
That was critical. That was the little movie magic that kept this project what I wanted it to be and elevated it beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so a question that I always ask, it's a little repetitive that I always ask it, but I always get the
Okay.
best answers. So, what do you hope people see in your film?
Hmm. Thank you for that question.
Hmm.
Just hope they see themselves.
Hmm.
You know, that's the biggest thing. There are other things. I hope that they feel cathartic nostalgia for their friends. I hope that they are reminded of a loved one that they lost, you know, to
Hmm.
death or geography, etc. But I really just hope that they feel so seen by the
Hmm.
storytellers,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
what I love about the movie is how much space we're holding for so many different types of people through obvious imperfections and mistakes, right?
Right.
Like
Hmm.
the cringe thing about watching the movie is this is a character who keeps fucking up. If
Yes.
he would
Yes.
just take the bait from
Yeah.
any one of these people who know him and love him to get out of his own way,
Hmm.
then the movie would be over sooner, right? It's
Right.
actually not
Exactly.
long. It's
Exactly.
actually only an hour and a half long, but it would
Right.
only be half that long if, you know, if that was the way it was structured. But I
Right.
think we can relate to that, you know, that languishing feeling, especially post-pandemic, uh,
Hmm.
especially in the state of the industry that suffered from, as independent filmmakers, we've been confronted with a perfect storm of global pandemic, a
Yep.
stream bubble bursting, a historic double strike into the fear of
Yep.
another strike that we're now narrowly avoiding. But the feeling of those environmental factors being out of your control is on a much bigger scale what Sean's going through. Like he had this
Yeah.
really informative experience, which was somewhat out of his control. It wasn't nefarious. It was youth in a car accident, and boom, the randomness of that. My entire life has changed, right?
Right.
And so, with that up against him, and with these systemic factors up against us, the
Hmm.
triumph of the human spirit to say, you know what, I'm going to do one thing every day differently to make change.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on my mental health or my physical health or reach out to my family. You know, those types of
Yeah.
courageous decisions that we all make,
Hmm.
that feeling's universal. So that's why I say the most important thing is just seeing yourself somewhere in this.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this. This is why I love talking to filmmakers because you
Yeah.
see below the layers and the thinking process and it just elevates everything. So this
Thank
is
you.
this is great. And so this film is premiering at the Siskel, right? Is it this week? Like,
Good question. Oh, two
yeah,
weekends from now.
2 weekends.
So,
Okay,
or actually, no,
okay.
sorry, one weekend from now. Oh, it's only Tuesday. So it's like we have 4th of July weekend. It's the following week.
Right.
10 days from now.
Okay,
10 days from
okay.
now is the premiere. 10 days and 2 weeks because it's
Oh,
Friday the
that's
12th.
right.
Yeah, Friday the 12th through Tuesday the 16th. So there's
Oh,
four
okay.
screenings, alternate times. There's a little bit something for everybody's schedule.
That's great. And are
Yeah.
you going to be there for a Q&A?
Yes, we're going to do a Q&A
Okay.
after everyone. I will be there
Oh,
after
nice.
everyone. We'll have a great local moderator and
Oh,
at least
great.
an actor or two at each of them.
Oh, wonderful.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure to put the links so people can get tickets.
Thank
And
you.
I'm just, this is great. This is your feature debut, right?
Yes, yes,
Oh
I've had
my
a
God,
big career in casting. Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. I'm
Yeah.
very proud of it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be bringing it home here. I'm glad that my
Mhm.
first feature was by and for where I'm from.
Yes, yes, I love that. So, yeah, thank you for speaking with me. And this will be up on our website soon, and I'll make sure to put the links and all that. But have a great evening.
Becca, thank you for your time, for watching the film, and
Of
for all of the
course.
uplifting support. You're wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.